Welcome, everyone. Welcome. We are in season 2. Once more, coming all the way from Mombasa, Kenya. I'm quite sure some of you have been telling us, when are you coming back? When is the second season and the episode starting? We are right here on time so that we can become a blessing to you, so that in one way or the other, we can get to add our knowledge, wisdom, and understanding even to our lives in one way or the other. Now, Rebuilding Family Foundation is one of the Department of Family Health, Life Skills, and Career Development, a program which exists to empower people, to inform people, to advise, to offer different kind of therapies, including physical related therapies. You're talking about pathological related, psychological related, life related, and many other more. And that's why we are happy with this program called Rebuilding Family Foundation. We can be able, in one way or the other, reach out to you, encourage you, motivate you, so that after all is said and done, you can add value to yourself. In season 1, we had so many people who came on board to use this platform and even to share a lot of information to people in one way or the other. Today, in our beginning of our season 2, we'll be doing a recap about some of the good speakers we had last time and the information we learned from them in our program. If this is not your first time, you have been enjoying this program in the past, and in one way or the other, it was such a blessing to you, kindly send a comment and tell us, how did it impact your life? How did Rebuilding Family Foundation impact your life as a person, impact your family, impact your marriage, impact also your way of living? I'll be very happy today to read your comment. Even I'll be so much encouraged and motivated to know and get feedback from you. Has Rebuilding Family Foundation, in one way or the other, become a ministry or an arm of impacting your life? If the answer is yes, kindly tell us why, and I'll be very happy to share with you. As we start, kindly send these invitational links to as many people as possible on Facebook, on YouTube. Call your friend, tell them that season 2 has just started, and you cannot just afford to miss. Why? Adding knowledge to our lives also is so much connected to adding value and our livelihood and longevity in life in one way or the other, especially if it is knowledge which within it there's the nature and the attribute of giving that kind of results. As we wait for you to bring your friend and invite them for the next 2 minutes, I love music as an African leader. Today, I like to just give this South African song coming on our way, even as you invite your friend and we are getting ready for this episode.
Usachemene kuti dine dinewe ndichakutungamira. 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 Tungamira, tungamira, ndichakutungamira. Tungamira, tungamira, ndichakutungamira. Unararisane kuti dine dinewe ndichakutungamira. Unararisane kuti dine dinewe ndichakutungamira. Tungamira, tungamira, 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 jecha kutungamira, tungamira, tungamira, jecha kutungamira.
Oh, thank you. Such a blessing. A song from South Africa telling you, don't cry, but seek for guidance for your day-to-day life. Very kind of like the African melody always is so sweet. And one of the beautiful things in music, the language of music, every ear can comprehend and every head can shake to its tune. That's the beauty coming all the way from South Africa. Now, in our other episode, there are different speakers, some from Kenya, some from Europe, some from different parts of Africa, who participated in joining us. And one of my reasons why I thought it wise to bring this program is so that we can nullify the idea that to be religious is stupid, and there's no way you can be religious and still the same time relevant to your community. And one of my goal and purpose is to bring the dynamics of how relevant you can be in your community, you can be in your society, you can be in your family, you can be in your marriage, but at the same time, you're someone inclined to your belief system. And among many people who came and shared about issues of life today, I'll be having recap for each one of them. Some will be getting their background, what they're doing behind the scene. There's some very good values which we are going to get some glimpse of it. But if you want to get more information, you'll need to go to our YouTube channel, Rebuilding Family Foundation, or CTCC Kenya, and you're going to get the whole episode of all those good videos. Now, one of the speakers was our last speaker, and I liked so much about his presentation and whom he has become from when we knew each other as young men, is Dr. Jason Musyoka, who is a Kenyan living in South Africa and a consultant of the government of South Africa, among many other people, among many other institutions and countries. Who is he? What credential does he have? And why should you never miss any of our episodes? Because every person I bring on board is an authority in one line or the other. Let's listen to Jason Musyoka at this point. Who is he? Background checkup on him.
It's Jason Musyoka. I hold a PhD in business leadership and also in economics and business leadership, and that encapsulates consulting work, particularly around economic strategies in South Africa, in the region, SADC, but I've also done a lot of work in other regions such as ECOWAS and IGAD. And I'm also a global consultant to the United Nations on a number of very important studies, including the NIAM, the Human Development Report in Kenya, which I'm leading a list of academics or scholars who are developing that report for the United Nations Development Program. I'm also the founder of the Frontline Group, a research firm that is headquartered in South Africa, Pretoria, but it has its reach far and wide. Again, we do extensive work within the continent and farther afield, including countries such as Mauritius, which we've continued to reach out beyond the continent. And then thirdly, I am also the founding principal of the Frontline Training Institute, and that's also a continent-wide program that is currently training program that is currently being accredited both by South African authorities, but also by Commonwealth regional institutions. And fourthly, I am also a researcher based at the University of Pretoria at the Center for Mediation in Africa. And then number 5, I'm also a theologian. I run a ministry known as the End Time Revival Ministries, which makes use of my theological training. And as far as the preaching ministry or gospel ministry is concerned, we do apologetics work, we do evangelism work, and we do training work also among ministers. So In summary, that's my professional life, but linked to that, I am a family man. I am married to one wife and two wonderful kids, 10-year-old and an 8-year-old, Zoe and Liam, who are our beloved kids. I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much. Back to you, Reverend Collins.
Thank you. That's a great credential. Very professional, but at the same time, this same man is very theological, Bible-based, but still relevant in the marketplace. This is one of the great speakers whom we had last time, and he was sharing to us about himself and about his life and about some of the philosophy of his life. Now, apart from him also, we had other speakers and guests who came to speak to us on issues of safety. And as I was bringing them on board, each of them, as I was talking about issues of safety, they are, in one way or the other, they were an authority in their area of jurisdiction. One of the guys who spoke during our meeting for safety was Moses Bolo, and let's just get the background information about him.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm health and safety, occupational health and safety specialist with very many years of experience. I'm actually registered by UK in IOSH. I'm a graduate IOSH. That IOSH is Institute of Occupational Safety and Healthy. And also we have organization in Kenya called WASPAC, that Workplace Safety Association Professional of Kenya. I'm registered by them. And also I have registered by the board of safety in UK, which is called NEBOSH, which I did a course and training. So I'm well familiar, plus my experience overseas in supporting of the US installations in Afghanistan. So I've done for like 10 years on that platform. Yeah, that's my credential.
Thank you.
Okay, that was Moses Bolo, an expert in safety, and there are a lot of good and nice things which he talked to us when we invited him. What's the point? When you get into a forum where professionals speak from their angle, there's no way you're going to leave that meeting without getting something good and nice. Apart from him who spoke about issues of safety, which also you're going to hear him giving us some bit of tips one way or the other, we had another health practitioner who also addressed the issue of domestic safety. He was none other than Mary Celesa, and he taught us how safe we should do one of the most basic tasks, washing our hands. From her, as a health practitioner, how you need to wash your hands. You'll be amazed. You might be 50 years and 60 years today, or probably 30 years, and probably the way you are not washing your hands might not have been the best way to wash your hands. How can you be safe from home, especially at a time like now when cholera, it's raining, and there's a lot of outbreak of influenza and many other conditions? What are some of the tips you need to know on washing your hands, which can help you? Let's learn from Mary Celesa Bolo and hear some of the tips on how we ought to wash our hands.
But did you know that hand washing can be done by simple soap and water? And the soap doesn't have to be expensive. I don't want to mention any brand because I'm not marketing anybody. I don't mean to demean anybody. You just need simple soap, even if it's a panga soap, and flowing water, and not water that is stagnant. I know in our olden days, we used to like to all wash hands in a bowl, starting from the elderly to the younger one. But we need flowing water, and it doesn't have to be a tap. It can be water from a jug, moving with simple panga soap that costs 10 bob, and you wash your hands. Now your hand has got different parts. You need to make sure the front part is well washed, the back part, and as you're doing the front and the back, you find the knuckles are not washed, so you need to clean your knuckles, both sides. And as doing that, you find these ones are not touched. Wherever, when you're doing this, these ones are not touched. So you need to come back and clean these other ones. And then your nails. Now come in and wash this hollow part together with your nails and your nail bed, and then come to the wrist. So Hands first, palm to palm. You need to make sure you need just 20 seconds. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you finish with the wrist, and your hands are clean.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Only 20 seconds can save someone's life at your home, among your children, even to yourself, with these basic tips. If you want to understand the whole teaching about washing your hands as part of domestic safety, go to Rebuilding Family Foundation YouTube channel. You'll find all the trainings in detail as far as safety is concerned, and why we ought to learn to wash our hands and to make sure that they are clean at every given time. 20 seconds might make a very big difference in one way or the other. Now, as different speakers were coming in and speaking on the issues of safety, also we had those who spoke to us on issues of family matter, marriage issues, and so on. One of them was Pastor Joseph Mwange. When it came to the issues of family and marriage, there's a concept which he talked about, which is very important. And I think if we will remind ourselves about it, it's very important, because during this particular time, we were talking about these issues. Are marriages under attack? Are marriages under attack? That was the question which you were answering. He gave us, I'll just show you briefly what he talked about. But going back to Rebuilding Family Foundation, you're going to get the whole episode on how he addressed this issue, if marriages are under attack. Let's listen to him. Do you think marriages and families are under attack today? What's your view on it?
My answer will be yes, and it is not only today. That attack is as old as man is, because first and foremost, it is important to establish a fundamental reality that family is God's idea. It's God who came up with the idea of having a family, and he established it to be the most basic unit of governance. According to scripture, Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, we see God saying, let's create man in our own image, after our likeness, and let him have dominion over creation. I paraphrase. Now, he goes ahead and creates them, male and female. And then verse 28, he blesses them and he says to them, be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over creation. Now, that be fruitful and multiply is what brings about the rest of all the other families that we see. Immediately after, in chapter 3, we see the first attack, which is lethal, in the sense that it causes men who is already in a family, who is already exercising dominion, to be overthrown by the enemy. That attack caused them to lack their dominion, to lose their place of authority, and all kinds of other things come in: sickness, disease, death, poverty, hatred, and all kind of stuff. They come in immediately after that attack penetrated through. Since then until now, the family is still under attack. But there is good news that Jesus, whom scripture considers as the second or last Adam, came in to restore what was lost in the garden. And therefore, he showed us how to live in this fallen world and still be able to fulfill the purpose of God for family, the purpose of God for having good relationships. He showed us how to exercise dominion And I will be looking at one of those ways as we progress, so that we can realize that even though families are under attack, it is possible to have those families still remain strong and still remain in line with God's purpose and enjoy life on earth as intended by God.
Thank you. Thank you. In other words, today, Pastor Joe Mwangi is telling us that families and marriages are not just under attack today, but there's an historical event of attack from the time of the beginning. Now, reference being beginning at the time of Adam and Eve, we see the first family, which was instituted by God himself, went under attack. And from when the attack was established, sickness, diseases, strife, and all kind of animosity came into the world. In other words, he's saying, what we see today as an attack it did not just start today. This is a crisis which has been there from the beginning. But the good news is this: with the second Adam, who is Yeshua HaMashiach, still families can have hope today and can get help today, even in the middle of crisis within families and marriages. Now, that now brings us to the second question on it. What responsibility do each and every individual need to have from a spiritual point of view, so that it can help one to manage to help his family, to make his family to be under God's protection, even in the middle of this war, struggle, and strife?
The first thing we realize is the importance to have a home, and not just a home, but a home that has got a godly environment. This godly environment, as we see in the garden, was one where there was no sin, where there was mutual understanding and respect for one another. Much later, we begin to see, as God begins to bring counsel through his word, that the wife is to submit to the husband, and the husband is to love the wife as Christ loved the church, and children are to obey their parents in the Lord. Now, that is an amplified approach of what should have been their natural habitat. It's a corrective measure to try to bring that very environment which was lost in the garden. Yes, that responsibility is that each member of the family is to consider and be considered as an equal partner. They need to be given their due respect, and they need to play their role in the family, whether it is in from a spiritual perspective. Of course, we will say they need to walk in the fear of God, and they need to make sure that they stay connected to God. They are studying the word of God, they are committed to prayer, and they are living holy lives, and they are respecting one another. Now, thereafter, we will find the aspect of submission, where in submission is not being treated as a lesser member of the family, but is showing respect to one another. And therefore, as each member plays their role, God into their relationship, then God is able to intervene in their affairs, and they are able to resist the attacker, who is the devil, and any other thing. We can name all kinds of things, but we know the source of all evil is the enemy of humanity, the devil. John 10:10, according to scripture, it says, the thief, talking about the devil, comes to steal, to kill, and to destroy. He will steal joy, he will steal peace, steal happiness, he will destroy relationship, he will destroy trust, and he will kill relationship. But Jesus came that we may have life and have it more abundantly, meaning he will cause us to be able to live harmoniously by being able to resist the enemy, because he was manifested to destroy the works of the devil. So anything that attempts to destroy this relationship, to cause it to be dysfunctional, we can accurately say it's the work of the devil. And Jesus was manifested to destroy such works. Therefore, when that family has got room for God, they are able to resist the enemy successfully, keep him at bay, create an environment where they are able to function normally and enjoy being a family.
Yes, do you think or feel that your family is under attack and your marriage is under attack? Pastor John Mwange gave us a very good directive and instruction. Yes, it is true, challenges can come, attacks can come in one way or the other, but knowing the second Adam will always bring a very big difference in time of difficulties, challenges, and in time of crisis. If you want to get more information about the details on how your faith can play a very key role in protecting your marriage and your family, get back to our YouTube channel, Rebuilding Family Foundation, or CDCC Kenya. In any of it, or our Facebook page, Collins Bolo, you're going to find all that information in details. And out of it, you're going to get tips on how your life can become better. Let me get back to Dr. Jason Musyoka. While he was talking about different dynamics and about becoming relevant in the marketplace, there's a philosophy in which he talked about, which I think if we can be reminded about it in one way or the other, it might help us. What philosophies do we need in life so that we can have success and we can become as relevant as possible? Did you pick and come up with so that you can get to where you are today, still a corporate individual and a pastor in South Africa?
That is a question of seeking a meaning and a purpose and a destiny in life. Those are three fundamental things. What is your meaning? What is the meaning of your life? What is the purpose of your life? And what is your destiny? And those questions a lot of people do without asking those questions. Now, let me come back to answering then those three questions for myself. The idea of being a preacher for me as a young man growing up, I felt that was the sense of, it gave me a sense of meaning. I wanted to say at the end of my life, I have done something that is somehow consequential, that I have to present to God. But that was very limited, and as I said earlier, a very tunnel vision. And there is a second aspect of what is my purpose. It's not just what I have to work for in life, but what satisfies me. And I think with that, that's when I started questioning and asking, am I fully satisfied? Am I fulfilling all my talents? And then the third question, of course, is the question of what is my destiny? Ultimately, where do I want to go in life? So asking those major questions, a lot of people don't ask those questions in their daily lives. Yeah. They really leave as I said, Albert Camus' philosophy of useless passion and just running around the truck. So for me, the search for meaning, and I figured out that I love specific things. I love social life, sharing, and all of that. And that's very important for me. Generosity and making sure that other people's lives are better in one way or another. And I also figured out that I love talking. And that is not a consequence of, it's not a random consequence. Talking is a talent. If you structure, you study, you begin to realize that you can make use of these public platforms or conversation to persuade people. So the idea of conversation and talking, my wife always accuses me that I love talking a lot, but I said, look, I can't help it. It's a talent. And then the third thing that I found that I was satisfied with is writing. So I figured out that I love to reach out to people and I empathize with people. I tend to be generous to the extent possible. I realized that I have a gift of public talking and public speaking.
Yeah.
And then thirdly, I have a talent of writing. If you lock me in the Northern Hemisphere somewhere where all I do is just reaching out to people and talking and writing, you don't even have to pay me. I'm very satisfied with that. But then the way God has designed these things, it is so that your talents that you're most comfortable with, it is your opportunity to meet opportunities. Now, let me just repeat that. It's your opportunity to meet other opportunities, because people pay you for doing things. They pay you for writing. They pay you for public speaking. They pay you for all of these things that are really your gift and talent. But what you pursue most is not so much the payment. It is just that it is the systems that God himself has created so that we can enhance our talents and our gifts and leave a mark in the world. So those three aspects, as I said, discovering your talent becomes very, very critical. And asking yourself those hard questions and asking your friends what you're good at, and realizing that there are some things that you're not good at. Those that you're good at, you begin to minimize your attention. But then you focus your full diligence and discipline and determination on your gifts and talents, which in my case, as I said, I've realized that those are talents I have. Let me add one thing, Reverend Collins. I like arguing. And again, you can turn that to the negative, the idea of arguing. And I remember there are a lot of conversations where I've been shut down and I've been told you just want to argue for the sake of it. My wife has accused me for arguing for the sake of arguing. But I realized also that it's a talent. It's a talent that I can make use of those logical arguments for the gospel, which is where my theological apologetics come in. And I love the public debates and debating with people. I can't help it but to debate and to try and prove other arguments that I don't see the logic to be absurd, and to point out the internal contradictions of arguments that are put forward. So you can make use of that. Those are talents that sometimes we shut them down in our children. We think that they are simply argumentative. We think that they are simply too playful. We think that they are not taking life seriously. In a sense, what we are really doing is down the opportunities for their growth of their talents. And I'm very grateful that I got the opportunities that I got to enhance these talents that otherwise, if you simply find them out there in the market, you might shut them down as non-consequential. And yet, as far as I'm concerned, tremendous talents that I'm forever grateful to God that he has given me those talents. And I use them to advance business. I use them for academia purposes. I use them for theological apologetics and all of those opportunities that I find.
That was Dr. Jason Musyoka talking about how he converted his talent and gift to one of the best resources which he can use to impact the life of many people. If you feel what he has talked about is interesting, you have not yet heard anything, I'll still take you back. Go subscribe to our YouTube channel, Rebuilding Family Foundation. As you do that, you're going to get the whole story about Dr. Jason Musyoka as a young boy from Tala in Ukambani, how God started lifting him up from one stage to another, and today he's a consultant of different governments, a lecturer in some of the universities in South Africa, and not only that, a family man who is celebrating and enjoying his faith and success while on earth. What did some of these people do, giving them success, which you need to learn from them so that you can add value to yourself? It's very key and very important. I really appreciate that some of the people are giving feedbacks online. I really like to appreciate Celesta Mary. She's saying, I'm being blessed watching with my family. Thank you, Celesta, my wife, even as she's watching from a second home in Nairobi. Thank you very much. Also, she's adding more information. She says, in what season one, I had asked this question: did season one impact your life? If it did, don't just listen to us and watch us. Just kindly send an information. Just give us a feedback. It becomes motivating in so many ways. And I'm really happy for this feedback. He says that can't wait for season two. Yes, season two is coming. We are just starting and it will be great and excellent. Thank you very much. We have Bolo Production. That's my son. Tune in from Nairobi. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you for joining me as a family, even in this particular program. We have Pastor Majab of Ushindi Baptist Church watching and also enjoying at the same time. Thank you, Pastor Majab, even as you are joining us and even giving us feedback of our program. Is this program a blessing? Was it a blessing? Did it impact your life? Did you learn something good in one way or the other? There are a lot of things we learned in this program from different group of people. Let me get back to the issue of safety. One of the speakers who really helped us as far as safety is concerned and domestic safety is Moses Polo. And there are some things which he mentioned, and I'd like us to have just a reminder as far as hazard communication is concerned within our homes. What did he talk about, and what should we remind ourselves of, even as we get to the whole chapter to listen in our YouTube channel?
Yes, now you can proceed. Why is safety at home?
Yeah, safety at home is very important. First thing first, I'm going to talk about hazard communication. Basically, hazard communication, these are when you're working with any chemicals or any kind of hazardous materials, they need to be identified. You need to know where, how they can harm you in one way or the other, and where they're located. So, for example, most of the time in our homes, we have different kind of chemicals. And this chemical can be very harmful to either children, it can be harmful to the house girl who is helping you to work, and even visitors who are coming home. So it's important for you to understand those chemicals. There's something called SDS, it is safety data sheet. Safety data sheet has all chemicals, they have safety data sheet, meaning that they contain all the components of those chemicals, how they can affect you, and how to protect yourself. For example, if you have bleach in the house, before you use any bleach, you need to understand how they can affect you, which PPE you're supposed to put on, and other control measures. That's very, very important. Another thing which people ignore is I've seen it happening is when you take chemical from the main container. For example, you have a bottle of detergent or bleach, and you see there's a container of Kimbo or container for cooking oil, which is empty. You can say, well, now I want to utilize this container. Let me pour this chemical in this container. Now that's a secondary container. That is not, the secondary container is not the original from the main container. So what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to label. Make sure that the secondary container is labeled. This is kerosene, this is fuel, this is bleach, and any hazard, you can put something called pictogram. There are pictures, if it's possible, stick pictures there so that anyone can know this is fuel or bleach. Because if you don't label them, someone may try to prepare breakfast, some egg, and use the chemical, and which again, it can cause fire. Or someone might think, oh, this is an orange juice, is in this quencher bottle, and drink, especially children. So again, it's very, very important to label all secondary container. That's a requirement internationally. Of course, in a work environment, most people are not aware, but it's good for them to label anything which is not from the main container, to make sure that everyone understands the content and how it can actually affect you.
Oh yes, that's very key. The other day, as I was listening to it, I came back home and there's this mentholated spirit. I realized that Mombasa is really hot. It was really hot after listening to this episode. And I realized that if I want to separate, as much as it is level, if I want to separate it far from the reach of children, high chances some of the neighbors' kids who usually come to my home when they're thirsty, they'll pick it and drink it. But through the program which you have had, labeling has made me to put it far away from children who cannot read, but who can be attracted by what they see and how they feel. Safety is very key. And if you're not aware about some of these basic things, it will be extremely detrimental. And that's why I encourage you again, if you want to listen to more of what this safety expert talked about as far as hazard is concerned and labeling, kindly go back to our YouTube channel and subscribe. Rebuilding Family Foundation. We have a lot of good teachings about life, about relationship, about marriage. If you give yourself time to listen, you are going to enjoy that good information. And the beautiful thing is this, you'll enjoy it for free. You don't need to pay any amount of money to get it. You only need to commit yourself and to have some level of discipline. Not only did we learn about importance of labeling different gadgets in your home, we also talked about some of the basic predicaments which can take place in your home, like choking. When you choke or someone chokes, what measures do we need to take? And are we aware that it is a safety precaution in one way or the other? Let's listen to this expert in health talking to us about it.
One of the things that can be a health safety issue, apart from hands that transmit bacteria, is choking. We normally get a lot of cases of either adults or children who have choked. And majorly you find choking occurs when somebody is eating. So we need to know how safe are we? What do you need to do? Now, number one thing that somebody needs to be cognizant about is that during eating time or feeding time for a child, there has to be a quiet environment. I know the African way, we talk a lot during eating time. And sometimes when you eat food like rice, it has got small pellets, can easily get into the airway. As much as the anatomy of eating food, whenever your esophagus opens and food gets in your airway, you stop breathing for a moment. However, there have been cases where you're talking and you're also breathing at the same time, as in you are talking and eating at the same time. At that time, in that spur of the moment, food can get into the airway and you can get choked. So what do we tell as healthcare providers? How can you be safe in the domestic area? Number one, when eating time should be really eating time. You only talk when you have swallowed the food. How food is prepared also affects. And we always say this. I know we are not Kenyans are lovers of nyama choma and all. Food should be cut into small sizes. I know it looks mean, it looks like your mchoyo, in quotes, when you have very small chunks, slim pieces of meat cut slenderly. But that is the ideal recommended way. Don't have large chunks of meat or food. Make sure they are chopped in small pieces and well cooked so that they are soft, so that somebody doesn't have to struggle with swallowing. Another thing, make sure that the temperature of the food, the environment that you're eating in is very safe. So it's very important that we observe that during eating time and how we make the food at the same time, so that in the end, you do not get choked at the same time. It's very important for us to have telephone numbers of ambulances. You need at least in your phone contact to have an ambulance that you can easily call, so that in case of an emergency at home, you can call in, they can respond and take you to the nearest hospital. Because some kind of choking, if it's not relieved at a very fast rate, it can lead to death. You always say if somebody stays without breathing for more than 3 to 5 minutes, then it can now cause serious consequences. So by the time they are arriving in the hospital, they are very sick, you cannot be able to salvage. And they end up to respiratory arrest that at times can lead to death or can lead to further damage and cause other multiple organ failure, which can be costly at the same time, can be costly in terms of financial in terms of your quality of life in the end. So very important.
Yes, in case it has just happened and someone has just been choked, is there something you can do to help in that situation? That's another key thing which we need to learn. Let's listen. When someone has just been choked, what can you do the soonest possible to help in such kind of situation?
So when choking, what do you need to do? Number one, we have got different stages, or rather signs and symptoms that you know somebody is choking. If somebody is choking and they're coughing, just know they're safe. So long as they're coughing, if they were choking, they were just eating food together or they swallowed something, but they're coughing, that's a very safe zone. You shouldn't be so worried. You should just stay there, be with that person and assist wherever you can, depending on what they tell you. But there's another stage whereby the person cannot cough. They're holding, there's a universal choking sign. They hold their necks like this. And at that time, some will make a very shrill sound. Some will not hear anything. They'll just hold their necks. If you are there, ask them, are you choking? Because there have been cases whereby somebody was just holding their neck and rubbing it, and they're quiet. So it could be they're just quiet, there's nothing, but ask them. If you see somebody holding their neck like this, ask them, are you choking? If they nod and say they're choking, you need to take action as soon as possible. Now we have scientifically proven maneuvers that help. Now on simple layman's language, one of the maneuvers that we use, you go behind the person's back and take your hand around them. Make a fist between the belly button and where the diaphragm and where the symphysis, for a better English word, where the ribs end. There is a point at where the ribs end and the belly button. Put your hand and make a thrush, upward thrush. You're exerting pressure on the diaphragm so that anything that is in the airway can be pushed and can come out. So that is one of the ways. We call it helmet maneuver. For a small child, you cannot do helmet maneuver. You need to go behind the back and pat, do thrust, using this part of your finger. Very hard thrust. Do like that. Do it 5 times. And if it is something that will easily come up, because it also depends on what they're choking on. I had earlier say that if foods are made in large chunks and you give to a child, or even others, very large pieces of meat, if it's an object that is occluding or blocking the airway, and you give a thrust behind the back, it can easily come out. But there are times whereby, one, they're not coughing, they're not responding, they're putting their hand on the neck and they've told you they're choking. You have tried doing the thrust, nothing is happening, they're just looking at you. You've tried hitting their backs to see where it comes out, nothing is happening. At that point, just know things are not doing very well. Some patients become even more unresponsive and they become frail and weak. Put them on the floor and now you start chest compressions. Meanwhile, when somebody is in that state, you don't need to handle that person alone. You need to shout for help. Come on, somebody help. Call the jiranis, the neighborhood. If you're in the street, say somebody help. People can easily come in and call the ambulance. And at that point, that is where I say that it is important that you have at least one number for an ambulance. A medic who is around the neighborhood. That is why we always say, wherever the neighborhood you are in, you need to know people who are around there. Who are the medics there? Who are the people who can help in safety issues and all? And somebody who is well trained. So basic life support can assist at that time. They can do chest compressions as you wait for an ambulance to take that person. So we have had cases whereby simple thrust does not work, the patient is unconscious, unresponsive, and they have to be brought to the hospital, whereby it has to be removed, whatever it is that was choking the patient. Common things that choke us apart from meat, we have also fish bones. We have people talking and eating at the same time. Fish is very dangerous. It can easily cause choke, and with that one you cannot, even if you do thrust, sometimes the spikes have already held part of your mucosa or they've held part of the throat. So whatever you do, it will not come out. So it will just be stuck there. So always observe whoever has told you they're choking, but so long as they are coughing, they are safe. And I always say this, Feeding time should be a very sacred time. Eating time, it should be sacred. Why? It should be a time where you chew food slowly. Most people are in a hurry to eat very fast. You don't chew food that's supposed to be chewed so that it can be digested. And as you eat in a hurry, then choking becomes very apparent. You're more probable likely to choke faster if you're eating food in a hurry, if you're eating and you're talking. So be safe. Always chew food slowly. Eat food that has been cooked properly. Cut food into smaller slices, even meat. If somebody is choking, go behind them if they are an adult, or if they are of an age where you can go behind them. Do a thrust on the abdomen between the belly button and the end of the ribs. If it's not working, they are still not responding, you have been trying, that is a person you should not handle yourself alone. Call for help. And I think Kenyans are very good in responding. Just shout somebody help. Have a phone number of an ambulance, have neighbors whom we know who can assist, then the patient should be rushed to the nearest hospital. Because again, when airway is compromised, you get respiratory distress, and at that time, there has to be a surgical intervention.
Oh yes, call for help. Don't take your phone and start taking the video. We need to differentiate a time for calling for help and intervention. It's good to eat. We have been eating from when we were young. I understand. Some of us from when we were young, they've been forced to eat, even to take uji, and they've been beaten so that they can swallow, and they survived being choked. Kindly, now that you're mature, don't put yourself into the same danger your parents did to you or your guardian. Take time to enjoy your food, step after step, and all will be well after it all is said and done. Now, as you have learned about safety as far as choking is concerned, as far as labeling, issue of hazard issues, labeling issues is concerned, as you have learned about the importance of safety of marriage, which is under attack, by following the example of Jesus Christ, among many other things. Do you know that in family, as a man, if you don't learn to listen to your wife, you are creating an environment of danger. Why is it important for men to learn to listen? That may create an environment of peace, which you're looking for in our own homes. Let's listen to this at this particular point and time. Most of the time, majority of our people, before they get into marriage, the best skill they have is image and imagination of marriage based on some of the movie they have watched. Some of the assumptions they have is based on what they hear from other people, but majority of the time, we are filled with a lot of ignorance about dynamics of life and loss of relationship. Now, due to this kind of challenges, many people find marriage to be one of the most difficult life and institution on earth. But the big question is it true God intended to bring something difficult and impossible for us to work on? Or might it be possible we are the ones who are very difficult as men and women, making life to be a bit even much more difficult? I don't know your opinion on the same matter. However, I'd like you to type and tell me, what do you think? Where is the problem? Is the problem the founder of marriage, who is God, or are we the problem? Now, my teacher on marriage once described marriage by defining it as marriage as a deliberate step to take a risk to live with a stranger with hope of a good future. That was Dr. Kivunzi. He once said that marriage is a deliberate step to take a risk to live with a stranger and with the hope of a good future. Why? First, it has to be deliberate. And with deliberation, you have to know that you are taking a risk. It's not a guarantee it will work or it may not work. It all depends with some of the loss of relationship, which you know and you apply for your success. I understand some people today, the only thing which drives them to get into marriage and relationship is love and love feeling. But unfortunately, most of the people who are separating, divorcing, or intending to take one of those two options, there are people who have been so much in love at one point of time. But what are some of the things which in time when people are not aware about, it can lead to a lot of crisis. It can lead to a lot of discrepancies within our relationship. Now, one of the major dynamics which once you know, it will facilitate your success is what we call gender dynamics. What we call gender dynamics. Now, why is gender dynamics extremely important? Now, understanding gender dynamics is extremely important because it helps you to understand the things which men and women are so much different, as much as they might both be having 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 hands, 2 legs, 2 kidneys. But on how they perceive life and they see life is extremely different. Not only that, even how they respond to different life issues is so much different. And the moment as a man or a woman you're not aware about some of these differences, which some of them are nature-oriented, some are gender dynamics, then you'll find yourself so bitter and so hungry with the person whom at one point of time you loved dearly and you loved so much. What are some of these gender dynamics? One which I want to address today is in the aspect of how the difference between how men and women perceive issues. What is the greatest need of a man? What's the greatest need of a woman? Of a man from his wife. The greatest need of a man from his wife is respect. Respect, simple. So the need of the man is respect, while the need of the woman is the presence of his man. How many men understand that they have a very big task to listen? And is listening easy? It's one of the hardest tasks for a man, because when a man is in crisis, he doesn't need to talk to solve his problem. Not as sometimes as a wife, if your husband is in struggle and in situation whereby he's so much by himself and alone, the wife tells him, please, why don't you talk? Don't you understand that talking solves a half of your problem as a man? As men, we don't just solve our problem by talking. We first start solving our problem by thinking, pondering, analyzing, and dealing with the issue in our mind. And the moment we start talking, we are talking to solve the problem. While for the women, they talk because they have to talk, whether it is solved or not solved. So long as they talk, the feminine part of them starts addressing the challenge and the situation at that particular point in time. Men must have big ears as women talk more to them, but is listening easy? Is listening easy? It's not easy. It's a discipline and it's a task. Next Friday, a time like now, we'll continue again doing our second recap on some of the things which impacted our life in season 1. Even as different speakers are going to join us and even continue impacting our life. Do men listen? If you want to hear more about it, kindly go to our YouTube channel, Rebuilding Family Foundation, or CTCC Kenya. You're going to get the whole teaching why men don't listen. This is important because it's a safety matter. You don't listen to your woman when she speaks, the worst might happen. You don't respect your man, the worst might happen. Join me next week from 9 to 10 on Rebuilding Family Foundation. And the good news is that every Thursday still in Rebuilding Family Foundation, we'll be having business talks. Every Thursday from now, we'll be having business talks, and we're going to be inviting different business people who have made it in life. Some doing home-based business, some doing small-scale business, large-scale businesses, and they'll be talking to us about their story. What are some of the philosophies they have used to succeed? Now, this is important because now things are becoming difficult in Kenya. If you don't have skills to bring another source of income for yourself, you'll remain complaining and cursing the government and the presidency. But if you add more skills to yourself, it will make your life better. So every Thursday, we'll be having business talk from 8 to 9. And every Friday, we'll be having family talks from 9 to 10. Another good development is this. On Sundays from 8 to 9, we'll be having Swahili version of Moment with Christ. We'll be having Swahili version of Moment with Christ every Sunday from 8 to 9 at night. And every Wednesday, we'll be having English version of Moment with Christ. That's not the end. Every Tuesday, we have My Health, My Wealth with Celessa Mary. Don't miss it as we engage you in the whole of the week to learn something good which will change value. Instead of wasting your time and listening to news, which is bad news every day, listen to Rebuilding Family Foundation and Moment with Christ. And as you do that, your life will tremendously become of great blessing. As I finish at this time, I'd like to acknowledge Bruce Zack, who says, lovely, as he has been listening to this program. Thank you, Mr. Bruce Zack, from any corner in which you are. And someone else adds by saying, Ati, they survived. Yes, there's so many of mature people today who survived death and choking in the hands of their mother and their aunts and house helps when they are being taken through the process of drinking porridge. They survived. So don't kill yourself by choking yourself today after you survived when you were young. God bless you very much. Join us again and again. Send more comments. We'll be happy. Give us also suggestions on how we can make this program become better and better even as we move on. God bless you. Good night. Enjoy yourself.
Sulikokele